Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Welcome to the great Zork 3 Showcase. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the final game of September 1982, Zork 3, the Dungeon Master, released for your Apple II. Let's check it out. This one is, again, by the eponymous Infocom. We've seen Zork 1, Zork 2, Starcross, and Deadline here on the show, and now it's Zork 3. With all the ports that Infocom's given us for all those games, this is our 15th game by Infocom we've seen on the show. It all comes down to this, Zork 3. I've already mentioned it before, Zork was originally on mainframe, and it was a giant, massive game. Whenever it was first brought to home computers, they split it into 3 parts, so we were finally seeing the penultimate finish of Zork. The third part right here. Let's flip it over on the back. Oh, fantastic. As usual, there's some feelies in the box. We're going to see some of them now and then a few others when we see the other ports. Oh man, the Dungeon Master draws you into the deepest, most mysterious reaches of the Underground Empire. Yes, the Great Underground Empire, same one that we played from Zork 1. And we got a lot of info from Infocom right here. This box, I think, says 1984, so some of these boxes are going to be the later releases, not the very first one. Let's see what else we have for Zork 3. We also have the map inside, which I don't think they gave you the full map inside. This may have been from one of the hint books, but cool because you can see the world of Zork 3. Very, very large, lots of loops and twists and turns. And then if you see it in the bottom right, that's the, oh man, infamous maze. And there you go, the 5 1/4 floppy disk we're going to pop into our Apple II. It wouldn't be a complete Chronologically Gaming episode if I didn't show you a 5 1/4 floppy disk with black mold on it, so you're welcome. And there's an example of the screenshot. We know what we're looking into. So here's the manual for Zork 3, the final part of Zork for the first trilogy, and I know we're going to see another one in 1983 that's kind of like a spin-off, not really. You'll see when we get there. So the first part is the annual review of what's happening in Frobaz, the Frobaz Magic Cave Company. They did this with all the Zorks, getting you immersed into the lore of Zork. I mean, look at this. Do you really want to read about and care about the Frobaz Magic Cave Company? Yes, you should. Or the Frobaz Magic Tweezers Company. Or the Frobaz Magic Spell Company. So much inside the box. The Frobaz Magic Grue Repellent Company. Oh, I need some of that. Before I start the game, maybe I should be rubbing it on me right now. Oh, that's true. They are all on the top. I'm already looking over in the chat. It's fantastic. And then we have the Frobazco Financial Report. So fun. And there you go. That's all from Frobaz International. Then we move on to the actual instruction manual for Zork 3. Welcome to Zork. You're about to experience a classic interactive fantasy set in a magical universe. The Zork trilogy takes place in the ruins of an ancient empire lying far underground. You, a dauntless treasure hunter, are venturing into this dangerous land in search of wealth and adventure. Because each part of the Zork saga is a completely independent story, you can explore them in any order. As Zork 3 begins, your greatest challenge beckons you as you take the final step down into the very heart of the Great Underground Empire. Just imagine how exciting this was being a fan of Zork and opening up this box and reading this manual for the first time when it was released in September 1982. I mean, it's got to be hype. Your character and courage will be tested as the enigmatic Dungeon Master confronts you with predicaments and perils. Your quest hinges upon discovering his secret purpose, even as he oversees your ultimate triumph or destruction. If you're experienced with Infocom's interactive fiction, you may not feel like reading this entire manual. However, you should at least read about the scoring on page 12. So if you are a master, you should be playing this game. If you're a beginner to adventure games, you shouldn't be touching this game right now, because this is meant to be for the ultimate text adventure fans out there. By the way, this is our 182nd text adventure game we've seen here on the show. 182 text adventure games, and I'm talking text only, no graphics, no pictures at all, only text. That's how many video games we played that are text adventures, and it all started from mainframe games like this. It's incredible. All right, so they do go through a little bit more of the story, and then they have tips to help you out in the manual for novices. How do you communicate in Zork? Because the text parser here is top-notch. It's one of the best ones you could play for all interactive fiction games for now in 1982. So it explains how to start the story, and then how you can get lamp. You can even type more than get lamp, and it'll work because it's more than a 2-word text parser. They even have a quick reference guide to tell you about some of the verbs and important commands. There you go. how to save and restore your game, because we will be using that too. And then it has some recognized verbs, because you'll need to know that, because you'll be typing in everything, reading and typing in. And we have some complaints. Yeah, if things don't work, here's some things you can try. And of course, you have to draw your own map. I believe the map we just looked at wasn't the one that comes in the box. If I'm incorrect, let me know if there really was a map for Zork 3, because I'd be thinking we need to make our own map in here. Oh, and then we got the Frabosco International stock. Awesome. And then we got a letter from the shareholders. Again, putting you in the mindset of, we're going to Frabaz. It's awesome. All right, let's pop in and play some Zork 3. This is by Dave Liebling and Mark Blank, published by Infocom at sometime in September 1982. It should mention the wax jar. I'm telling you, Zork is big. This is it. One of the things that sets this Zork apart from the other first two is this is not just simply a treasure hunt. This one is like trying to get to the end with the most points as possible. And it even has a time-sensitive event in store for it. So it's not technically a real time, but it's doing more than the typical text adventure. All right, let's do this. Obviously, I'm not going to give you the actual experience in 1982 because text adventure games... no one's reading the game to you, so I'm narrating the game as we play, but when you play this in 1982, you would be reading it in your head and experiencing it and using your imagination while you play the game. I also debated if I was going to have some music playing over while I'm playing this, the text adventure game, but I said no, I'm going to play it as if you were playing the game, which is total silence, because that's how the text adventure games work. That's how Zork is. Here we go. As in a dream, you see yourself tumbling down a great dark staircase. All about you are shadowy images of struggles against fierce opponents and diabolical traps. These give way to another round of images of imposing stone figures, a cool, clear lake, and now of an old yet oddly youthful man. He turns toward you slowly, his long silver hair dancing about him in a fresh breeze. You have returned the final test, my friend. You are proved clever and powerful. But this is not yet enough. Seek me when you feel yourself worthy. The last dream dissolves around you as his last words echo through the void. Zork 3, the Dungeon Master. If you aren't familiar with adventure games, this one is the most verbose, the lengthy for describing what you see in the game, and that's why this one is top tier. All right, so we want to see more of that. You can see the release serial number. We're at the endless stair. You're at the bottom of a seemingly endless stair, winding its way upward beyond your vision, and eerie light coming from all around you casts strange shadows on the walls. To the south is a dark and winding trail. Your old friend, the brass lantern, is at your feet. Ah, the brass lantern. Now, I could just say get lamp, but I'm going to say pick up brass lantern, just to test the text parser. Boom, and it understands it. 4 words, and we even made it more complicated. But we could have obviously said just get lamp. All right, let's go ahead and head south. We got our trusty friend from all the other Zork games. It's pitch black. You are likely to be eaten by, everyone say it with me, Gru. I love it. All right, let's go ahead and light that lamp. Light the lamp. I like putting articles in, because most of the text adventure games we play only allow 2 words, so I want to put as much words as I can. Light the lamp. The lamp is now on. So we can see we're at a junction of a north-south passage and an east-west passage. To the north, you can make out the bottom of a stairway that ways to the east and south are relatively cramped, but a wider trail leads to the west. Standing before you is a great rock. Embedded within it is an elvish sword. Ooh, sounds very fantasy-like, right? I know, right? I'm looking over in the chat, too. I like the... Thanks so much for checking it, Curtis. I appreciate it. All right, so we are going to just avoid the elvish sword because you can't get to it right now. All right, let's go ahead and head west. In the barren area. You are west at the junction, where the rock-bound passage widens out into a large, flat area. Although the land here is barren, you can see vegetation to the west. South of here is a mighty wall of stone, ancient and crumbling. To the southwest, the wall is decayed enough to form an opening, through which seeps a thin mist. Very eerie. A trail dips sharply into the rocky terrain to the northwest. So the other thing this game does, and it did it since Zork 1, is the directions you need to go are not just cardinal directions. They're throwing out northwest, southwest, and there's also the ups and downs. This one essentially is the frame for most text adventure games. Like other text adventure games want to be Zork, and now you can kind of understand why. Oh, thanks, Evacor. I can go back here. Let's go back east. Back at the junction. Examine. I don't think it'll let me examine the sword, though, because I'm not... Oh, there's nothing special about the sword. Okay. It's an elvish sword, and there's nothing special about it. I find that hard to believe. All right, so we're back in the barren area. Let's go west again. And we're now at the cliff. Good night. See all the text? This is a remarkable spot in the dungeon. Perhaps 200 feet above you is a gaping hole in the Earth's surface through which pours bright sunshine. A few seedlings from the world above, nurtured by the sunlight and occasional rains, have grown into giant trees, making this a virtual oasis in the desert of the underground empire. That's another thing I liked about Zork, is when you're going and exploring the world, it's not just a normal dungeon or a fantasy dungeon. It's an entirely world with, you know, trees and people, NPC. Like it's not just you're doing a Dungeons and Dragons dungeon. It's beyond that. All right, so to the west is a sheer precipice dropping nearly 50 feet to jagged rocks below. The way south is barred by a forbidding stone wall crumbling from age. There's a jagged opening in the wall to the southwest, through which leads a fine mist. The land to the east looks lifeless and barren. A rope is tied to one of the large trees here and is dangling over the side of the cliff, reaching down to the shelf below. It seems as if somebody has been here recently, as if there is fresh bread. Oh, as there is fresh bread lying beneath one of the other trees. So all that description, is it in your mind? Are you using your imagination yet? So now we got to know what we should be doing next. I know, it's like the description, you want to see what the graphics are like, because you want to see this fantastic world, but they tease you because it's, you know, it's a text-only game. All right, so that's where we're going to stop our Apple II journey of Zork, but we're not done yet. We're going to do what we did with the Zork 2 game. We're going to be playing every version that's available right now in September, starting with our next release on the TRS-80. This is Zork 3. The box should look pretty similar. It's the same that we saw before. All the same feelies are inside. We're going to be seeing more from other releases too. And then there's the ad in magazines with a Starcross and Deadline at the top. So this is actually, would be an ad we see right now in magazines, because Zork 3 is so fresh and Starcross is so fresh, with an example of the screenshot too. Hey, welcome in. It's the great Zork 3 showcase. And I believe this is the same manual that you would have had on the Apple II. Let's pop in and play some Zork 3 on the TRS-80 at some time in September 1982. So we won't be beginning from the very beginning. We're going to actually boot it up and go a little further from where we left off. Oh, I don't want to play Zork 2. I want to play Zork 3. There we go. I know, I'm so excited for the other releases by Infocom. It's amazing we've gotten where we are now. All right, so it begins as we had before, but now I'm going to restore where we left off on the Apple II. And then after you load that disk, then you pull it in the data disk and you swap it out. So just imagine you're swapping the disks out, because that's what you had to do. All right, so here we go. We should be at the cliff. Yeah, right where we left off on the Apple II. And we have the fresh bread lying beneath other trees. All right, let's go ahead and get that bread. It is taken. After we get the bread, let's head east next. Back where we were in the barren area, and then go east again. Back at the junction where we left that elvish sword that we can't touch right now, and then east again. We're now in a damp passage. This is a particularly damp spot, even by dungeon standards. You can junction to the west and two similar passages to the east and northeast. A wide stone channel steeply descends into the room from the south. It's covered with slippery moss and lichen. The channel crosses the room, but the opening where it once continued north is now blocked by rubble. Oh, that darn rubble. All right, so after that, let's go ahead and go northeast. Ah, the engravings room. You're in a room with passages heading southwest and southeast. The north wall is ornately carved, filled with strange runes and writing of an unfamiliar language. Read runes? What do we got in those runes? An ancient language. Some pictures among the runes depict flames, stone statues, and an old man. That's the one we need to find. Yeah, we need to use that bread, right? All right, so after we read the runes, let's go ahead and head southeast. Down to the dead end. We come to the end of two adjoining passages to the west and the northwest. All right, let's head west. Back to the damp passage, and then northeast. Back to the engravings room. Now, you see this is kind of a small circle, like a triangle of a circle here. All right, so we went back northeast. Let's go ahead and head southeast again. Back to the dead end, and what I'm doing is I'm making a loop because I need to find something in the engravings room, but it only appears randomly. Kind of a cool feature for a text adventure game. All right, so we went down southeast. Let's go ahead and head west again. So I'm going to make the circle again, where the damp passage, and now we'll head southeast. Or wait, northeast. I have to remember my directions. Back in the engravings room, but still not showing up yet. All right, so let's go ahead and head back southeast and west and northeast. No, still hasn't happened yet. So it's a random event. I'm waiting for it to happen. And just imagine if you had the game, this would be you wandering, making your map of Zork 3 and waiting until something were to happen because you didn't know that. All you had to do is read from the engravings that it's an interesting room. You have to keep coming back to it. All right, so let's keep going. From here, go southeast. We'll keep going in a circle. And then go west. And then go northeast. We did it. We're back in the engravings room, but this time an old and wizened man is huddled asleep in the corner. He's snoring loudly and looks quite weak and frail. All right, so we did it. Now we got to wake him up. Wake up the old man. And understands it all. The old man is roused to consciousness. He peers at you through eyes which appear much younger and stronger than his frail body and waits, as if expecting something to happen. Well, if he's old and frail, let's give the bread to the old man. I'm typing longer sentences just because I want to see if the text parser gets it. Give the bread to the old man. Oh, it does it. Awesome. He looks up at you and takes the whey bread. Slowly he eats the bread and pauses when he's finished. He starts to speak. Perhaps what you seek is through there. He points at the carved wall to the north, where you now notice the bare outline of a secret door. When you turn back, the old man is gone. So was he a figment of our imagination? If we look again, has he like disappeared? Yeah, we're just in the engravings room with the same description of the engravings room. So the old man just disappeared, and he's out of there. So he thanks us, and we opened up a secret door. All right, so there you go. That is the taste of Zork 3 if you were to play it on your TRS-80, most likely the Model 3 at this point. Now, I'm already about to rate the game because I've played 2 versions already. If you're a fan of Zork or you've been here on the show, I would say this is a 5-star game. This is one of the best games you could play on a home computer because every other text adventure game wants to be like this. This is Infocom at their peak. Yeah, Obsidian's already thrown out 4 stars too, but we're not done yet. We also have the release of Zork 3 for your Atari home computer. Most likely came after the TRS-80 and the Apple II. Let's check it out. So this one should look pretty much the same. All they're doing is slapping another sticker on it to say it's on the Atari. And you can see this is 48K you need, and it doesn't say the model, but obviously 800 or possibly 1200 you could be playing on right now. Yeah, I do like the text, so if you have problems with color, you may have an issue with this version of the game. All right, let's pop in and play Zork 3 on your Atari home computer at some time in September 1982. Oh, that's true. It depends on if you like fantasy or not based on sci-fi. But, I mean, I was a big fan of the Deadline, which was the murder mystery, which is really cool. Curtis is saying 5 stars of all the games you could play right now. All right, so we're in our 3rd version of Zork 3, and we're not going to start from the beginning. We're going to do what we did on the other ones. Let's take over where we left off. Loading up where we last played. So I'm going to be putting in the save disk, and it's going to load our save when we last left off on the TRS-80. If you could do this, I don't know if anyone actually did this at the time, if you had all these computers, but we get to do it now. And then insert the game diskette, so you take the Zork 3 disk, put it in, and we are in. So we should be looking, yeah, we're in the engraving room, and we have the outline of a door barely visible on the surface of the rock. Awesome. Okay, so that means we can head southwest. Let's go. And we're back in the damp passage like we were before. And let's go ahead and head west. Back to the junction with the great rock and the elvish sword that we keep ignoring. And then after that, let's go south to the creepy crawl, and a dark and quiet creepy crawlway with passages leading to the north, east, south, and southwest. Let's head south again. Everyone mark this on your map. We're now in the foggy room, in a dank passage filled with a wispy fog. A spooky passageway leads north, and a wider path heads off to the south. To the west, the path leaves the rock and enters an eerie, shadowy land. All this underground, by the way. All right, we're going to go south one more time to the lake shore. You're in a wide cavern to the north, on the north shore of a small lake. Some polished stone steps lead to the southeast, and a sheer rock face prevent any movement around the lake to the southwest. The cavern is dimly lit from above, so we have an underwater lake. That's pretty cool. All right, so this is where we're going to turn off our lamp. And lamp is off, and then drop lamp. Okay, and it's dropped. And there is our quick taste of Zork 3 on the Atari home computer. But the last release, the biggest release, the one that I have the most info on is... it's Zork 3 for MS-DOS, or PC-DOS. This one is the big one. This is the one that I think of when I think of Infocom games. I mean, MS-DOS, come on. So there's the box. Oh, just classic, as the other ones looked as well. Inside the box, you got lots of feelies like the shareholder letter, the Frabaz stock certificate, and then the 5-quarter floppy disk you'd play on your IBM PC if you had the money for it. And then that's not all. We also have the annual report, which we already saw when we checked it out on the Apple II. It's the same one. It appears to be leather bound. So cool to have it inside. I know. So many feelies. We have a lot more. We also, if you did reach out to Invisiclues, you can also get the hint booklet for Zork 3. It gives you some hints to play the game. But then even better is the Invisiclues map book, which has the entire map. Oh yes, our destiny's about to unfold. Look at that. For Zork 3 the Dungeon Master, here it is, the whole thing. So many rooms, and even the royal puzzle right here on the right here above my head, with how you can figure it out. And oh man, the mirror box, if anyone's familiar with that puzzle. We also have the shareholder stock shares, and then hint book, and then of course we have the manual. And this one is only the manual. This looks more like, let me see, this is the release of the more recent manual. I think the other one we checked out was the one from 1984, but this one would have been closer to what you would have seen in 1982, where they welcome you to Zork, the differences between the first and second and third games, and then what you can do to talk or play Zork. It's so cool. All right, let's pop in and play Zork 3 at sometime in September 1982 for MS-DOS. So it loads the same as we had before. It's right here from the very beginning. But this time we're going to do what we did. Restore where we left off on the Apple II version of Zork 2. We should be right by the lake, right? Yeah, right here on the lake shore. All right, let's keep going. Next thing to do is jump in that lake. Against my better judgment. You are nearly paralyzed by the icy waters as you swim to the center of the lake. So we're now floating on the surface of the lake. The water is ice cold, and your ability to survive for long here is very questionable. A swim north puts you at your starting point. Conditions to the east are poor, where the lake turns into swamp. The west and south shores are suitable for walking. However, it says, all right, so that means we have a little bit of ways to move. Let's dive down into the lake. Under the water, or below the surface of the lake. It turns out the lake is quite shallow and the bottom is only a few feet below you. Considering the frigid temperature of the water, you should probably not plan an extended stay. The lake bottom is sandy and a few hardy plants and algae live there. Out of the corner of your eye, a small shiny object appears in the sand. A moment later, it is gone. I want to just try get shiny. Will that work? Can I do get shiny? You reach the shiny object. It's a simple golden amulet. Can I get amulet? You are already wearing it. The icy waters are taking their toll. You won't be able to hold out much longer. You run out of air and return to the surface. Oh, so it automatically brought us to the end of the lake. That's nice. It didn't just kill us. So yeah, okay, we're floating on the surface of the lake. So it didn't drown us by staying in the water too long. All right, so it looks like we're wearing the amulet already. All right, so let's go ahead and head up to the top, and now let's go west, which is the western shore of the lake. The ground here is quite hard, but a few sickly reeds manage to grow near the water's edge. The only path leads into the rock to the south. All right, so let's go ahead and go south, which is a scenic vista. You're in a small chamber carved in the rock with the sole exit to the north. Mounted on one wall is a table labeled Scenic Vista. So there's actually a sign that says Scenic Vista, whose featureless surface is angled toward you. One might believe that the table was used to indicate points of interest in the view from this spot, like those found in many parks. On the other hand, your surroundings are far from spacious, and by no stretch of the imagination could this spot be considered scenic. An indicator above the table reads 2. Mounted on one wall is a flaming torch which fills the room with a flickering light, which means we're moving on from a lamp to get torch. Taken. The indicator above the table flickers briefly and changes to 3. So we have something that is changing based on what we do now, which is another puzzle. It's pretty difficult to figure out. All right, so after that, we want to make sure it says 2. So after we took the torch, let's go ahead and just do wait. And time passes. Let's do it again. Wait. All right, and then now the table indicator flickers to 4. We're going to wait again. Time passes. So another puzzle that relies on your patience. Not everything's going to happen the way you want, like other text adventure games. And it's not new. When we played Deadline was awesome with this because it actually had people moving around the house while you were playing it. That was pretty cool too. All right, so let's keep waiting till it says 2. Got it. All right, so after it says 2, now touch that table. You touch the table and are instantly transported to another place based on the number 2. So we're now in room 8. It's a small chamber carved out of the rock at the end of a short crawl. On the wall is a crudely chiseled number 8. The only apparent exit to the east seems to be a blur, and a loud whirring sound resounds through the rock. A spray can is in the corner. In large type is the legend, Frabaz Magic Grue Repellent. Yes, we can finally get Grue Repellent. Get Magic Grue. I want to spell the whole thing out. Repellent. Oh, we got it. My lifelong dream to finally have Grue Repellent. Oh, those are some good ones that I see from the chat. Yeah, this is a iconic video game. So much fun. All right, so you can see why this is an expert-style text adventure game, because now that we've transported, how would you map that? You'd have to find a separate piece and say, because I touched number 2, it sent me to room number 8, and then start figuring out where all the places you can be warped to whenever you touch the table. It's crazy. All right, so let's wait again. And time passes. You don't suddenly find yourself back in the viewing room. So now we're back in the scenic vista. All right, so let's wait again. See what the table says. Okay, so now the table is indicating it's part 3, or the section 3. So let's touch the table and see where 3 takes us. You touch the table and are instantly transported to another place, which leads us back to the damp passage. So now if you were drawing your own map, you'd be drawing a line from one place to another. All right, so from here, let's go drop that torch. Don't need it here, or we can use it for breadcrumbs to lead us back. All right, so let's wait again. And now we're going to go back to the viewing room. So all you do when you warp or touch the table is you wait for a second, then you'll just get warped right back where you were. All right, let's head north. And we're on the western shore, and we can jump back in the lake and go back across. Oh, yeah, if I just say jump, I didn't say jump in the lake. It says, have you tried hopping around the dungeon too? Oh, it's so much fun. It's awesome. I love it. All right, so that's where we got to put our pause on this version of Zork 3, and thus ends the release of Zork 3 in September 1982. So that's where we got to put all the video game playing on pause or save our current quest, and we'll restore it at another time. Next time on Chronologically Gaming, we're going to be checking out the very first games of October 1982. There is over 280 games in that month alone, so sit back, kick your feet up, and relax. We're going to be here a while. That's it for today, and like I always say, the video game releases are increasing exponentially. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.